Sir Edmund Hillary was knighted as the first one to successfully summit Mount Everest. Several decades later, what they realized is that he wasn't the first. In fact, he was the third. Why is it that Sir Edmund Hillary was noted as the first person to actually summit Mount Everest? Sir Edmund Hillary made it to the top, and he made it back down successfully because before he went on the trip, he hired what was called the Sherpas. And the Sherpas were people that lived in that area. They were used to the cold climate, they were used to the thin oxygen concentration, and they knew the terrain. They knew going up, they knew coming back down. So they were his guide. Now, the reason that so many people have failed in retirement is because of lack of financial literacy. Isn't it true that schools today, they teach us how to become good employees, don't they? They teach us how to concentrate, how to focus, how to write, how to read, how to do numbers, that sort of thing, right? But the number one thing that schools fail to do is they fail to teach us about money. And the financial literacy of America today is at the lowest point that it's been in 40 years. So it's been kind of my campaign as a financial advisor to try to take as much time as I can to be able to financially bring literacy to a person's life. The goal today is to try to be able to help you figure out how to avoid the pitfalls and the dangers of retirement. Right now we have a crisis. And the crisis is that we have 80 million people that are going to be retiring over the next 20 years in America. And the average savings right now, the average set aside money for retirement is $63,000. That's scary. That's scary. The problem is that when people finally realize most of this information, unfortunately they've realized the information too late. Okay? That's why we hold this class. Medical costs are one of your biggest factors. Because if we look at medical costs, they are roughly double the rate of inflation right now. When you take a pension and you look at it, and you've got that piece of paper, and it gives you the option of either taking your income or taking and rolling the money into your own personal account. More and more and more, I would say right now, probably close to 70% of people that are working with me that are coming in with pensions are rolling their pensions to personally held retirement accounts. Because you see, when you take the pension, you are irrevocably giving up control forever. The four main things that I think we see that's going to be affecting a person today, number one is going to be what? Inflation. If inflation went from 3 to 5% and you live to 100, you are likely to need 4 times the income that you need today. There's only 2 different kinds of an account, retirement accounts, that you can have. One specifically, really, that doesn't have taxes attached to it, and that's the Roth. All of these here, the IRA, the 401k, the SEP IRA, 457, 403b, simple IRA, all of those are retirement plans that have the IRS attached to them. Isn't that interesting? So you got like a 1 to 7 ratio, okay, of taxable versus tax-free. When you retire, you don't want to have to dip into your tax-qualified account to put a roof on the house or to buy a new car, right? There was a gentleman, he was a great saver through work. He just really stunk at saving manually at home. So when he retired, he had a large 401k. And he walks in one day and he says, well, my pickup trucks took a dump and I need to buy a new pickup truck. I said, well, Dave, what do you think that's going to cost? Oh, I don't know, probably about 40 grand. So, okay. So you want to take that out of your bank? Well, no, I'm here because I want to just pay cash for it. I said, Dave, do you realize you're not going to be taking out 40 grand, you're going to be taking out 50. Why would I need 50? I only need 40. I said, Dave, You got a tax man attached to every red cent. So if you're taking out 40, you're going to need to take out 50 to pay the taxes. See? It's a vicious cycle. The reason we bought into the whole idea of the IRA and the 401k and all that was because they promised us that if you put money into this, we won't tax you on that income, right? You can funnel part of your income into this. And then when you retire, your income's going to go down, and you take the money out at a lower tax bracket. But if that's all the money you have, you may never get to leave the tax bracket you were in when you retire, because you're going to need income, right? And between Social Security, between the pension, and between your cost of living, you may never get to go from the 22% tax bracket to the 12. It may never work for you. So while you're working on your money as a tool, you want to be able to balance out the type of money that you have. We know that you got a few obstacles, and these are looking 200 miles down the road. The first obstacle is to know that you might live longer than any other generation. Your cost of living, no question, is going to be more than previous generations. That's a no-brainer. That's not a newsflash. Okay? You are also likely to experience greater volatility. One of the first areas that I think people need to address before they pull the trigger on retirement is debt, because debt is a chronic condition today. The average person is retiring in America with nearly $200,000 of debt. Can you believe that? The average person. And the problem is that the more debt you have, the more income you need. And the more income you take, the more taxes you pay. And the more income you take, the more taxes you pay, the faster you're using your resources. We have been so wrapped up in the stock market that we have forgotten about the things that our parents and grandparents taught us about. Namely, the principle of keeping your principal intact and allowing that principal to make interest and dividends so you can live off from the principal instead of on the principal. There's things like individually held corporate bonds, things like preferreds, exchange traded debts, indexed annuities, real estate investment trusts, business development companies. Now, there's varied risks with all these things, but fixed income in general is a fourth of the risk of common stock investing.